Hi, this is Becky Albin of Software AG. I just want to take a few minutes out of your day to talk to you about the Adabas SQL Gateway. We've been doing a lot of activity with many of our customers around this tool, and the SQL Gateway has been out for, probably 10, 12, 13 years now, maybe longer. I kind of lose track of time. But what the Adabas SQL Gateway allows you to do is to take your Adabas data and expose it to people who are not your natural programmers or people who are used to your Adabas natural world. Now, granted, it could be those people, but it could be maybe your business analyst who instead of coming to a natural programmer saying, hey, I need this report, I need this, I need that, or hey, would you move this data from Adabas over here to SQL Server on a daily basis, an hourly basis, or real time so that I could create my own reports. Instead of moving that data or interrupting a natural programmer's very busy day where they're already maintaining existing applications, developing new applications, what if you exposed Adabas data to tools that they're already familiar with, whether it's Crystal Reports, Excel, business objects, whatever. In addition to doing like ad hoc reporting or querying, you can also write standard SQL directly to Adabas, just like you would write a SQL application that would talk to SQL Server or Oracle. It can be done with Java, .NET, OLADB. We support pretty much everything. It's very, very much ANSI standard. So it's, taking full advantage of all the Adabas features, but it's hiding a lot of those complexities. So that's the whole goal here with SQL Gateway is what if we allowed the capabilities of Adabas to be exposed to more people than just the existing Adabas natural staff. Now, don't worry, security is still maintained. As long as you have proper security around Adabas, not natural security, but Adabas, whether it's Adabas security through LDAP on the distributed side or through RACF, ACF2, or Top Secret on the mainframe, those security definitions will be adhered to. In addition to that, you can make this tool be what we call read-only, where for particular users, maybe all they can do is query. They can't do any updates. It would automatically reject them. I have a couple of slides here that just kind of at a very high level show you some of the architecture. The SQL Gateway, there's a couple of pieces to it. One is, the SQL engine itself. That's going to be installed out on, and that's shown here on this slide on the left-hand side. It's going to be installed in a Linux, Unix, or Windows environment, even if your Adabas is sitting on the mainframe. But there is a listener that sits next to Adabas that talks to the SQL engine, to the CONNX engine. So that listener will either sit in its own address space on the mainframe or be out here on Linux, Unix, Windows, wherever your Adabas is. It'll be sitting right there next to it. And here I just want to point out a few things. Remember, I mentioned ODBC, JDBC, OLADB. We can get to Adabas data through any of these types of mechanisms. In addition to talking to Adabas, the SQL Gateway can also talk to other targets, whether they be relational databases like SQL Server, Oracle, UDB, DB2, whatever it is. There's a bunch of them. There's well over 40 different targets that this SQL Gateway can talk to. In addition, it can talk to non-relational sources like Adabas, but also like vSAM. We actually have several customers out there that are doing SQL to not only Adabas but to vSAM. And the nice thing is if you have the Adabas component and some of the other adapters, vSAM, SQL Server, whatever, you can do federated queries where I could query the Adabas file and the SQL Server table, and as long as there's a key in common, I could do a federated or a heterogeneous join across those targets. So this is the other architecture picture I wanted to show you that shows you that wherever Adabas is sitting, which here is on the right-hand side, there's this thing called the listener. And all he's doing is listening for SQL calls to come in. The client out here on the server, the Linux, Unix, Windows server, he's the one that's getting the connections from the applications, whether it's a real application like you wrote a .NET app or a Java app with SQL that said select, whatever fields from employees where personnel ID equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whether it's coming from a tool like Crystal Reports, business objects, Excel, whatever. So that's kind of a big high level thing. Now, I am not taking any time at all to go over a lot of this in detail. If you would like more information, please contact me, Becky Albin, or anybody else you know at Software AG, and we would be glad to talk to you about SQL Gateway. We could do a custom demo for you. We could set up a trial where you could bring it in-house and kick the tires on it for about 30 days. I meant for this just to be like a 10 or 15 minute type of demo thing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to get out of the PowerPoint, and I'm going to go out to my desktop, and I'm going to show you that I have Adabas actually up and running here on my desktop. So here's my database 12, and you can see here that I have the employees file, I had the vehicles file, all the normal files that we ship, as part of the standard test set with Adabas. And by the way, this demo would look the exact same if I were running it against an Adabas on the mainframe. It really doesn't change. So going back out to my desktop, the first thing you would do is you would take and unload all of the natural DDMs for the Adabas files that you want to expose to the SQL Gateway. So if I wanted to show the employees, the vehicles, and the miscellaneous file, those are our 3 test files that we normally send. If I wanted to just expose those to SQL Gateway, I would unload those DDMs from natural using the sysobjh utility, System Object Handler, sysobjh. I would download those. And then I would import those via the CONNX Data Dictionary. And I'm firing up the CONNX Data Dictionary, and I'm going to pull off the CDD file called imp and vehicle CDD. This is one I've already created, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I've imported the employees file and the vehicles file here. Okay. Now there's a couple of things I want to point out here just briefly. One is the employees file. On this one, there's an employees file, and that contains all of the regular Adabas fields that make up that file, with the exception of the MUs and the PEs. They become subtables to that employees table. So address line, income, which is a periodic group, language, which is an MU field, my leave information, which is a periodic group, those become subtables. And the reason for this is that it makes it look more like a non-Adabas person would understand. Remember, most people understand SQL, so they understand parent-child table type of concepts. But another thing that happens is it also creates a different view of the same Adabas file. Remember, under the covers is still Adabas file with MUs and PEs. Another option that it does is it takes and it flattens out all the MUs and PEs. So here's the address field flattened out to the occurrences. And if I scroll down, you would see the same thing for income. So it flattens it all out, and you get, by default, 5 occurrences. You can make it whatever you want. And if you don't want any of these, it automatically creates both the relational view and then the flat view. You could get rid of the flat view if you don't want it. It automatically creates it. You can get rid of it if you want. Okay, so I just want to point that out. So it gives me all of these names. And again, this looks just like your DDM. And it will also pick up any of the keys that are on the DDM. So any regular descriptors, subdescriptors, and super descriptors are out here. And yes, this tool takes advantage of all of those. And there's a lot more you can do here. I just don't want to get into that. This could take me an hour by itself to explain all the security capabilities and different things like that. And if you want to trial this, like I said, we can show you. But there's all kinds of different things you can do, and you can also set up table security and all that. But we're not going to bother with that just yet. So what I want to do is I want to do some queries. Now, there is a tool that comes with the SQL Gateway, the CONNX product. It's called Infonaut. And I'm going to open him up, and it will ask me, do I want to just do my last query? And I'm going to say yes. And by the way, I have integrated security on, so it is validating against my Windows security that am I authorized to do, to use CONNX, and if so, am I authorized to use these tables? So it goes and does a security check. And I wasn't rejected here. And this SQL statement that's being shown here, where I'm going to do a join between the employees and the vehicles. I'm doing an inner join here. See, from employees, inner join with the vehicles where the personnel ID is in common. Believe me, And for those of you who know me, no, I'm not a SQL programmer. I actually had Infonaut build it for me. So you just do a build query, you select the tables you want, you pull them in here, and then you just select the fields. So I do that. I can actually execute it from here, or I can execute it from this page or screen, and that's what I'm going to actually do. But one thing you can also do is show the execution plan. It would show you, am I doing read physicals, read by ISR, read by some type of descriptor, whatever. You could show that execution plan and it will do that. Again, to save time, I'm not going to. I'm just going to do a quick execute here. It went out and it found in common across the employees in the vehicles file where the personal ID is in common across the two. So there's the first one here that ends in 5600 in both files, right? And then from the employees file, I picked out his first name, last name, birth date, and the city. So it's Humberto Moreno, born in 1955 in Vienna. And he drives a BMW 301, and then so on. So it shows you all of the records. If you scroll down, it'll just keep showing you all the records, and there was a total of 773. And it shows you, at that, and that's one of the nice things about Infonaut. It's a quick ad hoc way to query. And yes, you can use it for that. Most of the time, this is used by your DBAs and your applications people, but it can be used by business users as well. We do have some people. But it shows you how many records per second it was retrieving the records. We only retrieved 773, but if there had been more records out there, it could have done 3,466 in a second, but it only took 0.22 seconds to return these 773 records across the two files. Just a quick ad hoc query. Now, what I really want to show you is through something like Excel. So I'm going to go into Excel here, open that up, and I'm not the best Excel person, but what I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on the data tab, and I'm going to say from other sources, and it's going to give me different options, and I could do some of these if I wanted to, but I'm just going to do as a Microsoft query where it says ODBC. And I already did create my ODBC connection, and all that ODBC connection is a name you give it. Mine was called Adabas 12. And then for the resource within that DSN or within that ODBC connection is I give it the name of the CDD file, which was impinvehicles.cdd. And again, it's going to check who I am because remember, I'm coming in as through a different tool, so I have to do that. So it pops up all the columns or fields, all the tables that I could choose from. So I'm going to do, from the employees file, I'm going to say, give me the personnel ID, first name, name, and I'm going to do birth and city. And, I messed that up. I didn't double click or click over here. So I'm going to do personnel ID, first name and name. Then I'm going to go down and choose birth, and city, and say next. And I'm not going to do a join. You saw a join, and I'm not going to sort it, and I'm just going to return it back to Excel, and I'm just going to do this and say, okay, boom, boom, there it goes. Now, I'm just doing the employees file, so there's 1,107 records, and it brought them all back that quickly. You saw how quick that was. So they're all out there. It's that easy. I believe I also have out here Crystal Reports. I can show you that. It's exact same way. I just have to find it. Crystal Reports. Here we go. And I'm going to use Crystal Reports here. And I haven't done this one in a very long time, so let's see if I can get this to work. Okay, so I'm going to start a new report with the report wizard. And there's my connection. So I'm going to expand him. And I'm going to say localhost, and there it pulls out the tables. So I'm going to choose the employees table, and then I'm going to say next, and then I can pick my fields. So I'm going to pull off the personal ID, the first name, the name, the birth, and the city, just like I have on all the other examples. And it says, do I want to do any grouping? I don't. Do I want to filter it? No. And so I can choose a template. I don't care. I want to say finish. Boom. There's my 1,107 records. They're all out there. And so then I can just start paging through and you can see all the results. So it's that fast, it's that quick, that easy. So I can see how this tool would be of great use for business analysts and people like that. So at this point, I know I've taken a little more time than I anticipated. I just wanted you to get an idea for how this works. And again, if you'd like to take a look at this in more detail, contact me or anybody at Software AG, and we can set up a demo or a trial of this product for you. And with that, I appreciate all the help and your attention. Thank you. Bye.